Hi, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you for joining me this evening. I am turning my phone off as we speak because the interview is in progress. I'm just so excited that you could make it today. I'm excited because people need to hear about your journey. When I thought of someone as it relates to music who was inspirational, I remember when I was in your presence and you were just serenading the room with your saxophone. I could tell that there was anointing on that music. Your life story, which began in the Bahamas, and then knowing that you had an opportunity to work with Chadwick Boseman. I mean, I truly believe in impartations where there are people that you touch and they leave something with you. When I heard you play that saxophone, I knew that you were anointed and appointed. So I want you to take us back. I want you to take us back to the Bahamas, where it all began. How was it
Absolutely.
growing up in the Bahamas?
You know, I was surrounded by a lot of love. I would say my mom, my dad, they divorced when I was about 3 years old. She had four boys, and they had three boys together. And my youngest brother um, came 6 years later. But even though my dad was and my mom wasn't married, my father was basically for the majority of the time in me and my brother's life, and he was a great example when it comes to a hard worker. Never saw him drink, never heard him curse. He was very intelligent, graduated from one of the top schools inside the Bahamas, and did well for himself. My mom was a go-getter. She was an entrepreneur. She had several businesses. She had a money lending business. She had a bunch of apartment complex that she had built, a jewelry company, and I think she was also in a daycare company as well. And
Yes.
so I grew up around a bunch of entrepreneurs. And growing up, we didn't have much, I would say. We wasn't, I would say, rich, but
Mhm.
we were definitely rich in love. I would say that for sure.
Come
You
on.
know, that's one thing I'm grateful for. I did have that good examples, that I was surrounded by growing up.
Awesome. I know with family, essentially, depending on where you were, what day and age did you grow up? I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and that family camaraderie, that's really important to me.
Mhm.
Your roots, they help you to grow and to develop in the area of your purpose.
Mhm.
But when we're children, how we handle our business, as adults, a lot of times those initial experiences impact us emotionally, mentally, physically, socially. And so having had that love and that foundation, no,
Mhm.
it wasn't perfect, but
Mhm.
it was a lot of love along the way.
Absolutely.
Question to you is, when did you realize that you were, self-aware, that you knew that there was a God in heaven shining his light on you and just kind of guiding you through life?
Mhm.
When did you reach that point?
So I grew up in the church. I hated church. And I did not want anything to do with God. I think it was because I had to go to church. I had no choice but to go to church. My mom, she made me and my brothers go to church, which I'm looking back now, I'm grateful for that. But I still was very rebellious. I would
Um,
say I was trying to find myself, at a young age, found myself hanging out with the wrong crowd, started smoking weed and drinking and all that stuff. And,
happens.
and, found myself, I got kicked out of school when I was in grade 10, dropped out of school in grade 11, and I had a 0.51 GPA. That was
Mhm.
my GPA, 0.51 GPA. And, my mom, she would always pray all the time, and I always thought she was so superstitious. And it was only until at the age of 16, I had an epiphany, I had a sudden realization. I remember my mom having a deep conversation with me, and she said, Anthony, look at your life. Look at where it's going. This is not who you are. You're
Come on.
better than you're better than this. And in that moment right there, that day, I decided that I had to do something different. And that's when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I told him, I said, God, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to go to hell. If I die today, I don't want to go to hell. And I said, take my life and, use it as you will. And, that was the turning point in my life, and I would say right there and then I would find myself, I don't know why, writing songs, at the age of 16, just writing songs down. I would hear songs in my dreams and I would just wake up and I would just write them down, write down the lyrics and stuff like that. And for some reason, I knew that I was going to come to America and pursue college. Even in high school, I got accepted in this small little Christian private school called Gedali Academy. And the principal, she just favored me, she made me, eventually she made me actually class president.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, graduated with a 3.88 GPA, from a 0.51 to 3.88 GPA, got accepted. Not only did I graduate high school, which I didn't even think I would graduate high school. I was just happy to go to night classes and get my GED. But my mom and my dad, they wouldn't let me. And so I got accepted in a smaller Christian private school and, gained favor with the principal. And, she would put certain responsibilities on me. And that's what really kind of stirred some things up in me that, I could do better than where I was, It made me kind of change the friends I was hanging out with, the company of people I was hanging out with. And yeah, just really changed things for me. My relationship with God, I felt like at that time, it really got deeper. I got more inquisitive, more curious about God.
Right.
And I started to love telling people about God. I would find myself, talking about God, to all of my friends, I became like very zealous about it. And I find myself preaching at the age of 17 years old.
Wow. That's
And
amazing to me. That you had that realization at that age, understanding that the people who you were connected with, there needed to be a transition or you weren't going to live and grow into your fullest potential.
yeah,
A lot of time it's the people, the places, and the projects that people are working on that they need to be self-aware about that will hold them back. And if those things aren't clicking, you need to come up with a different plan
absolutely.
to get to your next level. And with you making the decision that you were going to let some of those friends go.
Absolutely. It was pivotal. It was pivotal. It was necessary.
Yes. Yeah. You were able to see things inside of yourself that you didn't realize existed. And I've seen essentially with young people, because there are several different young people that I mentor, and I mean younger than me, although some may be adults, and behaviors and people are the top two components that I see that young people are struggling with, not being able to tame their emotions. This cancel culture. Somebody tells you no, and you're literally having a fit as a young adult, having a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
So to have that kind of self-awareness and to assert yourself in that manner and to see that you were becoming a better person, it says a lot about your character, even then as a young adult. So as you're moving through your young adulthood, how did you get to that place where you knew music, where you were going to just impact the lives of others through music?
Music was definitely not my first passion, but I was definitely curious about it. And I remember when I first went to college the spring of 2003. I got accepted to this college called the University of West Alabama. So smack down in the middle of Alabama, this small little town called Livingston, Alabama. I started to go to college there. And it was there that I joined the choir. So, and I had to audition for this choir. And I remember this old white lady that was the choir director at the time, and she heard me sing, and she's like, "Wow." She said, "You could sing." I was like, "Yeah, right." I was like, "Yeah, right." She said, "Listen, I don't know what's going on in your mind, but you can sing."
Yes, you
And
can.
she made me do my first solo. And my first solo was America. I think it was called "America the Beautiful."
Okay.
"America the Beautiful," and was my first song I've ever sang by myself in front of a crowd. I think I did very well. I made up some words along the way,
Okay.
but I
Right.
got through it. But it lit something in me. It sparked something in me, that it made me really more curious about music. So I
Right.
found myself doing lessons. So I started taking vocal lessons. Even though my major was business, I began to minor in music.
Mhm.
I started taking piano lessons, saxophone lessons, guitar lessons, and it just really, burned a passion in me. And even though it's funny because preaching was my main passion at the time, and I even became a licensed minister at the age of 20 years old. I began, preaching at youth conferences and preaching in my local church at the time, and that was my passion. And I remember when that came to an end, my pastor at the time that was over me, he got caught in embezzlement, and the church had fired him. And I think that right there, that was actually the end of my ministry at that church when he transitioned elsewhere, and I found myself in a point of going to a point of depression because, at that point, I felt like this is what I was meant to do, preach. And, you know, at the age of 20 years old, something that you was so passionate about and it just crumbling before your eyes, I could see how that could be so impressionable, right?
Yes.
And at the time, I found myself being so depressed. And it's so funny because the songs that I would write, I would find myself just kind of singing them while playing the piano.
Wow.
And those songs actually got me through my period of depression.
Come on
You
now.
know,
Music,
and
music will do it. Not to cut you off, but years ago, my mother taught me, Leona, always keep some good music on. Essentially, you feel yourself going through a mood, or if you
Mhm,
want to increase a mood, just put on some good music, depending on the mood that you're trying to evoke.
absolutely.
You to go through something like that, and I'm so glad that you were transparent about it at such an early age. People don't realize when you love God and you're preaching and teaching and sharing His word, it's visceral. You feel it everywhere.
Mhm,
And to have that taken away at such an early age and have it impacted, I should say, not taken away, because people can't take away your gift. You may have some bumps in the road, but people can never take away your gift.
mhm.
Um, Even then, with you processing all of that, it's just amazing to me that you were able to play that music and to start to come out of that depression.
And I think that's actually one of the best things that happened to me, honestly. Me going through that point of feeling like a failure, because I feel like that's when God began to shift some things. Uh,
Mhm.
Music became such a pivotal point in my life. Honestly, I find myself doing things, leading worship. Um, you know, find myself writing a lot of worship songs, uh, competing in different competitions. My
Mhm.
um, college at the time, and I eventually transferred to Jackson State. So I had went home for a while, and then I came back and transferred to Jackson State University. And that's really when music kind of really, began to just really take off, you know, in my life. I would lead worship by this church called Greater Bethlehem Temple. And it was like a 3,000 member church. I think it was the biggest Black church in Mississippi. And
Mhm.
they would always have me lead worship all the time. And at first I was so shy. Oh my God, I was so shy to
Oh,
actually be among, I was an introvert growing up, very shy, I could never see myself on a stage before people singing, I
imagine.
didn't I didn't mind preaching, but singing was a totally different animal. And I just found favor with the minister of music at the time. Him and his family, they became like my family. And
Mhm.
he had some sisters that those girls could sing. Oh my God, when they sang, you could swear you're listening to an angel.
I believe.
And everything they did, they would pull me into it, whether it was the praise team, whether it was traveling with the choir. I actually ended up doing a concert, at that church with all the songs that I had written at the time.
Wow.
And ended up doing a concert there. And one thing led to the next,
Mm.
per se. Even though I majored, my degree is in business. Music was always in the forefront. Even though it was a minor, it was always in the forefront, and it really connected me with so many different people. And it also, helped me to break out of my shyness. And I became more of
Yes, because you are very
a
a presence with you when you walk in a room. And like I said, when you were on that saxophone, the anointment could be heard. I mean, it was just beautiful. So as you're going through, your college process and your first passion was obviously God's, word and
Mhm.
imparting that to people. And then he started to show you another side of your purpose in music.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people, your purpose, that is your ministry,
Yeah,
because your purpose is a gift from God. So
absolutely.
whatever it is that you're doing in life, whether you're a school teacher, whether you're a businessman or woman, it doesn't matter. You still give God glory through that. And that's still your ministry. You can still reach people and touch people. It's just in a different way,
Yeah.
because you have to meet people where they are,
Mhm.
all at different points and places in life. And so as you're moving along and you're discovering yourself and discovering this music, when did you realize, I need a soulmate? I need someone that when I look in the mirror, I see a reflection of myself. And what were you looking for exactly as a man when it came to looking for a wife?
Well, I would say that, through the years, for sure, I've been in, different relationships, different women per se. And, some relationships were great and some weren't so good. But I never really saw any of those individuals as my wife, somebody
Mhm.
I could spend the rest of my life with, you
Can you
know?
say that one more time, brother? Say that one more time. You never really.
Never saw that individual. When I never saw that individual having my kids, never really saw myself spending the rest of my life with them, you know, and just to take it back a little bit, after leading worship and what have you in Mississippi, I started to pick up the saxophone again and started to teach myself how to play the saxophone. I would play it for 8 hours a day, just 8 hours a day, just playing the saxophone, just learning how to learn how to play it. Even though at the time my pastor was like, listen, stick to singing. You're not good at the saxophone. Just stick to singing.
Oh
And
my.
I would find that as a means to just keep on driving. And then I found myself playing with a blues band at the time, say playing a lot of blues music. And we would play from like 12 o'clock midnight to 4 in the morning. And yeah, and so that led from one thing to the next, and I was God to be featured in this movie, and from that movie, built relationship with other musicians, and one thing led to the next, and I found myself, playing secular music, but one thing I realized even about secular music is that it's amazing how God would use your gift in any environment,
Yes.
because it was really being in doing secular music, playing at different venues, that I was able to connect with tremendous people, tremendous people who love God, but I would have never met them in four walls. I would have never met them in the four walls of a church, but it's through, allowing my gifts to shine, allowing God to use, saying those gifts that, I was able to connect with different people. So, fast forward to 2000 and, let's see, 2018 was when I was playing at this place called, what's it called now? Cafe 4212. Cafe 4212.
I heard of Cafe 4212.
So that was when I first moved to Houston back in 2018.
Okay.
And it was on a meter road, I think it's called.
Oh, down here in Houston, 4212. I've been there. Is that Third Ward? I don't know.
Yeah, Third Ward. Yep. And so I met this guy by the name of Greg Fulton and his wife at the time. And they invited me to play for his mother's. It was around Mother's Day, and they were having a program for his mom, and they invited me to play the saxophone, perform for his mom's event. Mm-hmm. And that relationship just, led, I just built that relationship with him, and he became my godfather. They became my godparents. And it was through him that I was introduced to my now wife, and so, at the time, my wife, she loves to write. So she had written a book at the time. And so one day he gifted me with this book, and, it's the name of the book is called Lessons Gifted Away. And so I found myself reading this book, and it was a really good book. I found myself really just entrenched in this book, and one day out of the blue, he called me. He said, Anthony. I said, hey, what's up, Greg? He's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, just, getting ready for this event tonight. And he had Tiara, my wife, on the line. And so, and he's like, hey, Tiara, you wanted to ask a question. So she was looking for, good music. She wanted to, go somewhere where they had live music, and so Greg called me and asked me to see what I was playing. So I happened to be playing at Alley Cat that night. It was a Tuesday night. They had a jam session. Okay. And so, she came out, and to have me play. And there was the first time we ever meet each other, in person. And it was like an instant connection, I saw her and I was like, wow, I was very curious about her, instantly I was like, hey, you want to hang out, grab drinks afterwards, if you're not doing anything. But I think at the time she had already left, and she had went home, she had things to do, but we end up, talking that night on the phone. We talked for like hours. Just talk for hours, like we knew each other, and one thing led to the next. And, we just,
just been together ever since, huh?
Yeah, I felt like, wow, this is what I want. This is what I need, and in that moment, I told myself, I said, listen, I would be a fool to not propose to this woman, and let's let her go, and proposed to her on March 29th, 2019, and we got married December 9th, 2019, so we've, as a matter of fact, the night of this month marked our 2-year anniversary.
Oh, so, happy anniversary. Wow, that's everybody has their own individual love story, but I thought that was key. And whenever I hear a point that my guests are making, I always say that again, please, because sometimes people will miss it. It was important for you as a man to say, I've dated women who I did not consider as a wife, and women need to hear that, because I am working with so many different girls at this point. I try to help them to be mindful of how they're dressing. I try to help them be mindful of their approach when they have a disagreement with someone. We live in this culture where it's cancel culture. Somebody tells you no, or you don't like something, emotions are going off, and people are saying things and doing things that they ought not to.
Mhm.
God's word teaches us to be angry, but to sin not. You know,
Absolutely.
it's important when young ladies are on the dating scene. I was watching Ready to Love, and one of the young ladies, she actually took her finger and was touching a young man. Well, he's a man, I'll just say, a man on his nose, as she was expressing her displeasure with him choosing to actually move forward with
Uh-huh.
another woman.
Uh-huh.
At that point, it's like that's what the TV show is all about. It's called Ready to Love, and it's a process of elimination. He had the right to choose which woman he wanted to leave with, and to see a young woman express her emotions in that way to the point where you're touching this man,
Mhm.
violating his personal space. Had he done that to her, it would have, they may
Oh,
not,
in the situation. Yeah.
you know. So men have the right, as we do as ladies, to go
Mhm.
through the process and to choose who we may, you
Mhm.
know. And it is exactly that. It is a choice. It is a decision to say, I'm going to walk through life with this person. And I only say that from the perspective of having had grown up witnessing my elders to get married, because I would never advise anybody on marriage because I have chosen not to be at this point until God sends the right person, you know. But it's beautiful when it works, whether it's the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, to have someone to walk through life with, to know that this person has your back, to know if you get hit by a bus, God forbid, and you know, you should have your life insurance policies and all of these things in order. This person isn't just going to pull the plug just because they want to cash out, you know, or as soon as you're in the ground, they're running around here with someone else. No, you want to make sure you choose someone who's going to uphold your living legacy, you know, whether it's through your children, family members, whether it's how Coretta Scott King handled her business. She never remarried. Okay. She knew who she was and she had that man's back in life and death. Okay. So I learned how to move and be a wife watching how she moved. You know, she knew who she was and she knew who her husband was. So I always like to ask men their perspective about relationships and marriage as well as the ladies.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
is there any specific memory that you have where you've had to overcome a barrier in your personal or your professional life that you feel our viewers could benefit from today?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're always going to have barriers. That's the point of life. Life is about learning. Life is a learning process. You know, I feel the person that is not learning is a person that's not growing, and growing is uncomfortable. You know, it's like and development is uncomfortable. So you're always going to encounter obstacles. You know, things people that's gonna tell you no, or they're gonna try to narrate your story, tell your story, right?
Oh, yeah.
You have to decide, you have to be comfortable within yourself that that's not who you are. You know, people talk about this cancer culture thing. It's like, okay, you know, I think I'm coming to a point in my life where I'm just comfortable with myself, whether somebody, you know, accepts me or not, or cancels me or not, I'm okay. You know, once I have God as the center of my life, you know, and I have my wife that is, you know, my rock, my backbone, you know, I'm good. As long as I know that deep down in myself that I'm a good person, you know, and I do good and I use my gifts and my ability to inspire
Yeah.
and uplift people, I'm good, you know? And
Yeah.
so, you know, there has been so many times, you know, where I could have got discouraged when it comes to playing at different venues where somebody would say, you know, especially early on when I was really learning how to, you know, play the saxophone a little bit better, or even sing and play, you know. Um, some people wasn't feeling it, you know, and they would express their opinion, you know, and I could have take that and allow that to be my defining moment, or I could take that and grow from it, you
Come on.
know?
Come on.
And so that's what you know, I did. And so, and I not honestly, I learned that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, you know? Not everybody's going to like the music that I do, but that's okay because there's going to be a lot of people that actually celebrates what I do and they love what I do,
Yeah.
and that's the people that, I'm called to connect to you know, build up that relationship with. Like I play for so many different people, honestly,
Give,
whether it's,
give us some feedback now. We need to know. And I'm telling you, it's just beautiful when you play, and you also have a beautiful voice. Can you give us some ideas of some of the different venues you've played for, some of the different people, and tell us a little bit about that movie that you were in with Chadwick Boseman?
yes, it's called Get On Up. And so in that movie, I played a character by the name of Nate Jones. Nate Jones was James Brown, saxophone player, piano player, and band director early on in James Brown career. And so I was blessed to have that position and that role, and it was fun. It was fun. Chadwick, I remember when I first met Chadwick, he had his do-rag on his head and he was upstairs, I think, I'm saying, kind of sitting down and kind of making a lot of weird noise with his voice, kind of getting ready, getting into character and stuff like that. That's when I first met him. This is way back in 2012, 2013, when they were making the movie. This was before he really blew up, to be, he had did a few movies like, I think what's called 42, I believe, and Jackie Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
And baseball player, and then he did a few other movies, and this was supposed to be a big movie as well. You have people like Jill Scott, Aloe Black, Dan Aykroyd, Octavia Spencer, what's her name now? Valerie Davis, I believe, and so you had all these big name actors and musicians. So you had Craig Robinson, the comedian who played Maceo. So Maceo was James Brown's main saxophone player. And so, being around all these people, per se, in this movie, and to see them so down to earth, especially Chadwick, he was so down to earth. He was so chill. We would always hang out afterwards, like all of the musicians after our scenes. We would go to this casino because it was a small town, not just Mississippi. And so everybody just hang out by the casino, because that's what he had, all the buffets and stuff like that. And so we would just go there and hang out and just, have fun and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so really cool guy. I enjoyed that experience. I remember it was I was talking with Aloe Black and he gave me a really good advice. He was like, you know what? He said, because I was doing some recording at the time and I kind of wanted to know what was the next step. And he had told me if I believe in a song that the thing I should do is release a video of that song. Just don't release a song, but do a video if I really believe in the song. And so I remember when I released my first video for my song, my first single I ever put out called What's Going On in the World Today. What's Going On in the World Today is a song I wrote, and I produced the video for it back in 2015, actually. Mm-hmm. And I put it out because of, that advice I got from Aloe Black. And so I did that and did some tour with my good friend, my sister, Sarah B. Sarah B was signed with RCA Records, Universal Records, Cash Money Records. She was one of the finalists on The Voice, and me, we did some touring together. We still play every now and then, per se. She's more like a soulful country, I don't know, like rock and roll / support
that episode, because nowadays we can just Google it or YouTube it and we can find our way.
Yeah, so it's basically Sarah B Music. And so so we do stuff together, a lot. And now here in Houston I play at just about every venue, honestly.
Yeah,
I play at a lot of different hotels, whether it's Hilton America, Seabowen Hotel, Hotel Zaza, what other hotels? Just different hotels. A lot of corporate events for a lot of oil and gas companies when they're having different events and stuff like that. I started playing at this place where I think it's pretty cool. It's called Market Square Towers. This beautiful apartment complex on the 43rd floor of downtown. And it's where Chris Paul and James Harden used to live. They used to live in like the penthouse of this place, right? And I'm like right above the penthouse on this sky bar, and I play there on Thursdays, And then, on Friday I play at the tasting room. Wednesdays I'm at the Sea Baldwin Hotel, and tonight I get a private event I got to play to. It's an African party, so I got to play there. And then tomorrow I get a Christmas party I got to play.
Yeah.
So, just play at like different things, different festivals that they might have,
Yeah.
weddings. I do a lot of weddings, per se. Yeah. I try to be versatile in what I play and where I play, So, I could play by myself. A lot of people hire me to play solo, just me, my sax, my vocals, and tracks. Or I could play with a live band. I do have a band that plays behind me as well, and so it just depends on what the individual is looking for. Last night I had to play for the 100 Black Men, their grand opening of their office.
I had the pleasure of supporting 100 Black Men here in Houston. And when I think about your music being your ministry, as we're closing out and winding down the podcast, what's some advice that you've been able to impart, maybe to someone who felt like they were down and out, maybe to someone who just needed some encouragement or some inspiration? What's some advice that you've given along the way, being a Christian man and, using your music ministry to just empower others? With some advice that you've given along the way to help out?
Life is a journey. Where you are today is not where you're going to be tomorrow, and you always got to keep that in mind. You might be down now, but you're not going to always be there. Always, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. You're made it in the image and likeness of God. So that means that there's greatness in you. And you got to know that even if nobody else sees that, once you see it, that's all that matters, Keep on pushing, keep on grinding, per se. Don't get caught up in all the distractions. Stay in your lane. That's one thing I had to learn, to stay in my lane. Don't try to be like this person over here or that person over there. Don't get caught up in comparison, comparing yourself to people with where people are and where you are, because that's only going to discourage you and it's going to make you want to quit. Always stay in your lane. Stay in the lane that God has put you in, because if you stay in your lane, that makes you unique. It makes you distinct. And once you become distinct, people like this distinct. They like stuff they like when, you are your gift, whether it's music, whether it's any other, area, people look for that and they value that because it's rare, And so with me, I think what I do is rare because, first of all, I play and sing, which is very unlikely. You don't get a lot of saxophone players that plays and sing. And also, and I play everything. I do country, rock and roll, R&B, old school, new school, pop. I do a little reggae. Obviously, I'm from the Bahamas. So
Yes.
Do a little reggae. Also, I DJ as well, so like this party tomorrow, I got to sing, I got to perform, and I got to be the DJ. So it depends. It really, and it's really through me staying in my lane, honing in on my gifts, being the best version of myself, that's what makes you great, not being what you think people would want you to be. And the reason why I say that, because I used to be me. I used to always be that person that wanted to be, perfect in everybody's eyesight, especially when I was in church leading worship and stuff like that. I always wanted to present my best version of myself, but life has taught me to just be yourself, be okay with being vulnerable, and just be who you are, be who God has created you to be, because you're great, you're beautiful just the way you are, you don't need to change anything, you don't need to try to diminish yourself to make somebody feel comfortable, shine, the Bible said, let your light so shine before men.
So that they your Father in heaven.
That's right. That God will be glorified because of the light that he's placed within you. And so, yeah, that would be my encouragement to people. Let your light shine, let it shine, don't worry about who else is shining. Hey, you shine, and if you allow if you allow yourself to go on this journey and allow yourself to evolve, and also I would say this, put God first.
Mm, yes.
Because you would never know your true calling unless Jesus literally shows you that. You would never know your true purpose in life unless the part of the one who made you shows you that. And then he's not only going to show you your purpose, he's going to help you to get there. And so that's what makes me so confident, because I know that I'm not doing this by myself. I know that it's not only me that's doing this, God that's doing this. God is the one that's presenting the opportunities. God is the one that is connecting me to the right people, and that keeps me encouraged, and so I feel like it's no better affirmation than to know that I have a savior, a God that is limitless in what he does, is always good, always has my back, my best interest at heart. Jeremiah chapter 29, he said, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, thoughts to prosper you and not to cause you harm, but to give you a hope." And so, yeah, so I'm always encouraged by that. So I would encourage anyone that's listening, just, put God first and let God do the molding and shaping, stay in your lane, and shine bright, because
Thank you
you,
so much. And thank you, because for I know the plans that I have for you, thus saith the Lord. Plans
Mhm.
for you and not to harm you.
Yeah.
Okay. According to his purpose. So when you said that just struck a chord in me.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful reminder of how we must be uniquely present in everything that we do. We don't have to try and imitate. I consider Nana Stiff a mentor of mine, because I worked with her years ago in social services. And she would just put me on a game. She would just give me some golden nuggets every once in a while. And she would always say, Leona, they may imitate you, darling, but they will never duplicate you. And she was just so beautiful, and she just witty, she just had a lot of sayings about her. And when you said that, let your light shine, it reminded me of what Nana Stiff said about imitation and duplication. There's a difference. People may imitate you, but they can never duplicate you,
No,
So
indeed.
I just want to thank you for coming on to the podcast today, just for imparting and sharing your journey, for encouraging people, spiritually, and, just reminding people as they go through their journey, if they get a little depressed, or, if they're just not in a good mood, to just put on some good music
Absolutely.
and to make a decision to choose the people who they need in their life along the way. Nobody's perfect. None of us are, but you need to know who you need, and you need to be respectful to who
Mhm.
you need, because if you're not treating people right, they have the right to say, let me fall back and let you be to yourself, and give you up to God until you can get it right.
And I
So
want to say this, if you want to know your future, look at the people that you're around every day.
that's true.
You
Sixth
want to,
generation. Look at the people who you're hanging out with. Look at the things that you're doing.
Mhm.
That was key. That was absolutely key. Thank you so much, Anthony, for being with us today. I
Absolutely.
hope to see you again soon. I definitely have to check you out. And I must say, before we leave, you have a beautiful wife. She is gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. And I wish you two the best. And I look forward to continuously hearing great things about you here in Houston and beyond.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.